Have you ever felt kind of stuck, wishing for something big to change in your life, but you just don't know how to make it happen? Well, today we're going to dig into a really powerful idea that draws a line in the sand between just hoping for things and the kind of active faith that can literally change your reality. So let's break this down. This isn't just some nice-sounding motivational quote. It's presented as a formula. The whole idea is that the road to great things isn't paved with wishes. Nope, it's paved with deliberate, significant steps. It's all about shifting from a passive, I hope so mindset to an active, I'm doing this one. And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? If the destination we're all aiming for is great things, then what does that journey, what do those great steps actually look like in the real world? In this explainer, we're going to unpack a pretty specific roadmap for turning that belief into actual, tangible results. All right, first up, let's dive into this core conflict between just wishing for something and actually, taking steps to make it happen. These are framed as two totally different ways of approaching faith in life. And wow, this slide just nails the difference, right? On one side, you've got this passive plea for help, a mindset the source material says we need to be delivered from. But on the other side, you've got Noah. He was facing a challenge of, biblical proportions, and he didn't just pray for a boat to appear, he built one. It's the difference between being a passenger in your own life and grabbing the steering wheel. So the big takeaway here is that inaction isn't just a neutral position, it's a roadblock. If you want to see results, you can't just sit there waiting for someone else to drive. You've got to be the one to turn the key and hit the gas. Okay, so if we're supposed to act, how in the world do we know what to do? That's a huge question. Well, the source gives us a two-part framework for finding that exact direction. So here's the framework. Think of the word or scripture as the master blueprint, right? It's the timeless, unchanging plan. But let's be honest, a blueprint can be pretty complex. That's where the prophets come in. They're presented as the expert architects who can read that blueprint and show you exactly how to apply it to your life, right here, right now. And this is a really key piece of the puzzle. The source points to this verse to show that the role of prophets isn't to confuse things, but to bring clarity. They use similitudes, which is just a fancy word for things like analogies or powerful stories, to make a huge, grand vision feel personal and totally actionable. So let's be crystal clear about this. In this view, prophets are not making up a new story. They're lighting up the one that's already there. Their job is to be a bridge, connecting that timeless wisdom of the Word to the urgent questions we all have about what to do right now. Now, this brings us to a super critical point. Why the rush? Why the urgency to act? Well, the source argues that we are in a special season, a window of opportunity that it calls a revival. And this isn't just some passing phase. It's the main reason why taking action now is so important. And the promises that are tied to this revival, they're huge. We're talking about getting back lost time, a total end to financial and emotional struggles, and even the transformation of regular people into, and I quote, global phenomenon. It's described as a time when your personal battles just stop and you find this deep, profound peace. And here is a point the source hits on again and again. This revival isn't about building up some big institution. It's about rebuilding you, the individual. The number one person who benefits from all this is the one who decides to stop watching and start engaging. It's all about your transformation. And to show this isn't just theory, the source throws out a couple of real-life stories. First up is a student, Matthew Gold. He was apparently so broke he couldn't even afford an application form. But after 3 months of what's called intensive engagement, he landed a full scholarship to study in the United States. And then there's this story of a woman who is unemployed. After she committed to this idea of active engagement, she apparently went from having no job at all to running a multinational company from overseas. Pretty incredible. Okay, so these stories bring us to what might be the single most powerful metaphor in this whole message, the huge difference between being a player and just being an observer. This slide just lays it all out. On one side, you have the observers, the fans in the stands, the commentators, the critics. They're close to the action, for sure. They have opinions, but they can't change the score. Then you have the players. They're on the field, they're taking the risks, making the moves, and at the end of the day, they are the only ones who can actually win. And here's the bottom line. The message is a direct, unambiguous call to action. Get out of the stands and get on the field, because greatness is not a spectator sport. Okay, so what does it actually mean to take a great step? What does that action really look like? The source points to some pretty dramatic examples from history to define it. So a great step isn't just, doing something. It's a move that might look really hard, maybe even counterintuitive. Or to an outsider, it might even look a little crazy. It demands a level of commitment that's way beyond just a casual effort. I mean, just think about the scale of these examples for a second. Noah, building a giant boat when there wasn't a cloud in the sky. Moses, going back to the one place where he was a wanted man. David, a teenager with a slingshot, staring down a giant warrior. Or Nehemiah, rebuilding an entire city wall in 52 days. These weren't small, safe choices. They were massive, world-altering risks. And the point here is that your intensity matters a lot. It's not just what you do, but the speed and the focus you do it with. The source uses this picture of filling your cloud with effort. If you do it over 3 months, you'll get rain much faster than if you spread it out over 10 years. The energy you bring makes all the difference. And really, it all comes back to this one core principle. The size of your steps determines the size of your results. According to this message, you simply cannot get to an extraordinary destination by walking an ordinary path. So we're left with this final, challenging thought. This message draws a direct line connecting the size of our actions to the size of our outcomes. It's a call to stop wishing and to start doing. And the question it really leaves us with is this: what is the great step you need to take, and what great thing is waiting for you on the other side of it?